There are nights, my friends, when the heat of Manila isn't enough to melt the coldness brought by the past. What if the sweat dripping down your back right now is actually the last reminder of the world you once knew? What if the tomorrow you're expecting to come is even colder than death? Pull your blankets up higher. Turn the volume to just the right level for your heart to hear. Because tonight, we aren't just listening to a story. We are going back to the beginning of the end. I am Miss Bakada, and this is the first night of the endless winter. When Roseanne woke up, she was met with sticky sweat on her forehead and the noisy hum of the broken electric fan beside her. She took a deep breath, gasping for air while clutching her chest. Her last memory was the brutal cold on the streets, the gradual numbing of her fingers, and the emotionless stare of her high school best friend, Vanessa. She remembered how she begged while lying on the pavement as Manila slowly froze over. Vanessa and her boyfriend, Gabriel, had abandoned her after seizing all her properties and money using forged documents. The two left her in the middle of the sudden storm, leaving her body to freeze until she died. But when she looked at the calendar on her wall, it was only the 15th of December 2025. The thermometer in her room read 32 degrees Celsius. It was hot. The pungent smell of vehicle exhaust in Cubao filled the air. Am I just dreaming? She whispered to herself while staring at her hands, which showed no trace of frostbite. To calm herself down, she turned on the television and immediately started scrolling through the internet to do some research. At first glance, the world seemed normal, but as she began piecing together the news from the past 2 weeks, she felt a chill run down her spine. A report from a foreign news agency caught her attention. According to the weather bulletin, there was an unexplained drop in temperature in parts of Siberia and northern China, causing early ice buildup. As for her own country, she tuned in to the nightly news on TV.
And for our weather report, parts of Baguio and Sagada continue to experience an unusually intense cold, reaching 8 degrees Celsius this week, which, according to Pagasa, is uncommon for the month of December. Stronger northeast monsoon winds are also expected in the coming months.
Roseanne's eyes widened. This wasn't a dream. 6 months. 6 months before the polar vortex would hit, dropping temperatures across the entire Philippines until it felt like people were in Alaska or on Mount Everest. She was the only one who knew the timeline, and this time, she would do everything to survive the right way. Sorting out her finances became Roseanne's top priority. She knew that once the cold set in, digital currency and paper money would become worthless. The next day, she went to her office in BGC, where she worked as a tech manager. Vanessa also worked there as a senior specialist on another team. As soon as she dropped off her immediate resignation letter at HR, she went back to her desk to pack. She wasn't even done putting her things in a box when Vanessa suddenly approached, holding 2 cups of coffee and looking visibly shocked. Hey, Roseanne, are you serious? HR just told me you filed for immediate resignation just now? What happened? Vanessa asked as she set her coffee down on the desk. Roseanne looked at Vanessa's face. This was the face that caused her death in her past life. Yeah, Van, I need to leave right away. It's really just a personal choice because I'm a bit tired of the corporate lifestyle and I want to focus on my family in the province for a while. Roseanne calmly replied without looking her straight in the eye. Gosh, that burnout seems so sudden. Where are you going to get your income while you're on break? Vanessa continued to pry. I have enough savings to survive for a few months, don't worry. Roseanne answered as she closed her box. She forced a smile, took her bag, and finally walked away. Over the next 2 weeks, Roseanne sold her condo unit in Cubao to a rush buyer for 3.5 million pesos, lower than its market value, but she got the cash immediately. She cashed out her entire retirement fund, separation pay, and remaining investments, which totaled 2 million pesos. She also applied for maximum personal and salary loans from 5 different banks, adding another 2 million pesos. In total, she had 7.5 million pesos to use for her preparations. The 15th of January 2026. Roseanne bought an old rest house made of thick adobe and stone on a secluded cliff in Barangay Solidaridad, Antipolo. It was owned by a retired general, Don Ismael Valdez, whose family is already in America, so she was able to acquire it in cash for 3 million pesos. Since she had a 6-month prep time before the apocalypse, she had enough time for the most crucial aspect of her survival, building an underground bunker. In the Philippines, a civilian cannot directly purchase military-grade bomb-proof blast doors or reinforcement plates without undergoing a thorough government investigation. So, what Roseanne did instead was opt for the natural protection of the earth. They dug 5 meters deep, straight into the bedrock of Antipolo. The sheer thickness of the soil and cement would serve as a shield against any chaos or the heavy fall of ice on the surface. For this task, she hired a large construction firm from outside the province and requested 40 workers from Infanta, Quezon, to be divided into 4 shifting teams to ensure excavation continued 24/7. She paid each worker 2,500 pesos per day, more than triple the standard rate, and gave the construction firm a 300,000 peso upfront bonus for expedited engineering. Before starting, she had everyone sign a strict non-disclosure agreement. To completely quell the workers' curiosity, Roseanne used a clever strategy. She spoke with the foreman Mang Celso and the shifting supervisors on the very first day of work. Mang Celso, before you begin, I want to clarify that I'm just the front manager here. This project isn't mine. It's being commissioned by a very sharp and well-known government personality with a high-ranking position, which is why security is this tight and why there are contracts to sign. My client doesn't want any names mentioned outside, Roseanne explained seriously. Upon hearing this, Mang Celso immediately nodded with a mix of fear and deep respect. Believing it to be a private safe house for a famous politician, they kept their mouths shut and asked no further questions. While the walls were being built, Roseanne tried to give them one last warning while they were on a break. Mang Celso, if I were you, I'd start stocking up on canned goods and sacks of rice at home. Set aside some thick blankets too while they're still cheap, Rose Ann said while looking at the blueprint. Mang Celso looked at her, then suddenly burst out laughing. Ma'am Rose, it's so hot lately. The food we store might just spoil. And what would we do with thick blankets? We'd probably just end up with heat rash. Mang Celso joked while drinking cold water. Roseanne didn't argue anymore. She let them get back to work. She had done her part, but their fate was now in their own hands. The 10th of March, 2026. After nearly 2 months of non-stop excavation, the bunker's structural framework is finally finished. The entire underground facility was encased in 12-inch thick, high early strength concrete mixed with premium waterproofing additives. For the bunker door, Rose Ann went to a large workshop in Valenzuela that manufactures custom heavy machinery parts. She commissioned 2 layers of thick high tensile steel plates weighing half a ton, which she passed off as a soundproof vault door for a recording studio. The 22nd of April 2026. The installation of the electrical systems has begun. On the roof of the rest house above, Rose Ann had 10 units of monocrystalline solar panels installed with a total capacity of 5 kilowatts. These were connected to a large battery bank inside the underground bunker, consisting of 6 units of lithium iron phosphate batteries, so they wouldn't be affected by the cold on the surface. From this underground battery bank, Rose Ann had a hidden electrical wiring system installed leading to the property's main gate above. She replaced the old iron gate with an industrial sliding gate equipped with a heavy-duty electric motor, a remote-controlled access system, and a backup manual override. She topped the entire adobe perimeter wall with high-voltage electric fencing, and the gate itself features an electromagnetic lock with 600 pounds of holding force. The 15th of May 2026. Exactly 4.5 months after the first ground was broken, the entire fortress, both above and below ground, was officially completed. Mang Celso's workers, left with heavy pockets and sealed lips, driven by a mix of fear and respect for the man they believed to be the powerful owner of the bunker. By late May, Rose Ann knew that buying from supermarkets was the fastest and best way to avoid drawing attention or being mistaken for a panic buyer. She rotated between different rented old, closed delivery vans to visit various wholesale supermarkets like S&R, Landers, and Pure Gold across different branches in Manila and Rizal. Every day at dawn, she would buy 2 sacks of rice, 5 cases of canned goods, 3 packs of dried fruits, and several boxes of powdered milk per trip. Within a few weeks, she managed to collect 20 sacks of rice, 50 cases of various canned goods, and enough dehydrated survival meals. For water, she installed a large rainwater collection system with industrial water filtration in her bunker, which was also capable of melting snow in the future. As a single and independent woman, she also bought her personal necessities from various pharmacies. She hoarded a sufficient supply of sanitary pads, 3 medical-grade silicone menstrual cups that could last 10 years each, bulk soaps, toothpaste, tissue, and medicines like antibiotics and painkillers. She also bought 20 bottles of dry shampoo, because she knew that once the cold set in, bathing with regular water would become a major health risk. She also brought her 3 dogs to her fortress: Bruno, a Rottweiler, and Luna and Sol, street-bred aspens, to be her sole companions and guards. She stocked up on 20 large bags of dog food, which she had bought little by little from different pet supply stores in Manila. And since it would be difficult to go out to exercise, she bought every piece of exercise equipment she could think of to keep her body healthy. The 31st of May 2026, the last night before the season changes, all supplies are safely tucked away inside her underground bunker. The walls are thick, the pantry is full, the solar batteries are fully charged, and the generator is ready to roar to life with just one click. At 11 p.m., Roseanne is sitting in the living room sipping hot coffee with her 3 dogs fast asleep beside her on the thick carpet. She checks her phone and sees Vanessa's social media post, a photo of her and her boyfriend Gabriel at a high-end rooftop bar in Makati, with a caption about how hot the night is and how much they want to cool down. Roseanne stared at the screen. She remembered the stories from her past life. A bitter smile escaped her lips as she realized that in that very bar, on that same rooftop, Vanessa and Gabriel had first met. A scene that, in the previous timeline, had sparked her downfall, because that was where the two began their conspiracy to steal all her assets and leave her for dead. Exactly at midnight, Roseanne heard a strange sound from outside. It was like a deep whistle of cold wind coming from the sky. Then, the streetlights on her outdoor security camera monitor suddenly flickered and died out completely. Roseanne approached her external thermometer monitor. The sensor attached to the outside of her wall began to fluctuate rapidly. From 32 degrees Celsius, it dropped to 20 degrees Celsius, then 10 degrees Celsius, until it hit 0 in just 30 minutes. Through the night vision of her cameras, she saw white crystals falling rapidly from the sky. The Philippines' first snow. She knew that at this very moment, people across the Philippines and around the world, including Vanessa and Gabriel, who were partying on the rooftop, would wake up shivering, completely unaware that the warmth they grew up with would never return. And she knew that in just a few weeks, the two of them would come looking for her once they realized she was the only one with a safe and warm place to stay. But this time, the door to her underground fortress would remain closed, as cold as her heart, forged by betrayal. This is where the first part of Roseanne's story ends, my friends. Her underground fortress is ready, along with her loyal guards. But the real storm is only just beginning outside. The cold has finally settled in, and with it comes the awakening of a new world where only the prepared have the right to survive. What will happen as her struggle continues? How will Vanessa and Gabriel face the onset of the first winter? Don't go anywhere, because there's so much more to look forward to. Let's follow the next episode for part 2 of this story, only here on our podcast. For now, close your eyes, pull up your blankets to keep your bodies warm, and be thankful that the cold outside hasn't reached your windows yet. This is Miss Bakada once again. Stay safe, and sleep tight.